I never expected a simple laugh to turn into an unbelievable moment of connection. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a Tuesday that felt like an eternity. The moment Jessica threw her head back, her laughter ringing out, everything around us brightened. Then it shattered in that small cafe, the aroma of roasted coffee mingled with fresh pastries, wrapping around us like a warm blanket. Jessica's eyes sparkled, a wild mix of joy and mischief. I couldn't help but smile, even as a sliver of doubt pulled at my insides. Her laughter comforted me, yet there was something unnerving about the way the other patrons fell silent, their eyes fixed on our table, on us. I could feel heat creeping up my neck. Was it just me, or had laughter become a weapon? Jessica's fingers brushed against my arm, grounding me, sparking a mix of courage and confusion. She was always the brave one, the one who leaped first without looking. But that day, as she leaned closer and whispered something that slipped through my guard like honey, I sensed a shift that we'd been friends forever, navigated every storm side by side. Yet, how could I explain to her my growing fear? The world around us felt wrong, the energy thick and electric. I glanced around, eyes darting, searching for understanding. Was there something bigger lurking in the shadows of our laughter? Why were those strangers staring, whispering now, their eyes widening in disbelief? Then, in the middle of our moment, the door swung open. A gust of wind swept through, and with it came a presence that made my heart race. The man who walked in was cloaked in black, his face half hidden under a dark hood. Time seemed to stall, the laughter dying on Jessica's lips, and I felt my breath hitch in my throat. What did he want? My fingers trembled as anticipation gripped me. The cafe fell into an eerie silence, every breath held tight like a secret. The air felt charged, crackling with an intensity that sent chills down my spine. I could see it in Jessica's eyes, the spark of curiosity mingling with fear. She shouldn't have looked. It was a mistake. Without a word, he stepped closer. I could hear the pounding of my heart drowning out all other sounds. I was caught between protection and instinct, every nerve screamed at me to flee while compelling me to stand firm. The world outside resumed its bustle, but here, inside that cafe, we were suspended in a moment heavier than steel. That I wanted to reach out, to pull Jessica back into the safety of our laughter, but something in the stranger's gaze held me captive. What was happening? Was he part of our lives? Or was he the cause of our unraveling? I felt this connection to him, strong yet dangerous, like a tether I couldn't break. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, the lights flickered violently, plunging us into darkness for a heartbeat. Gasps filled the air, echoing like a distant storm. When the lights came back, he was gone, and Jessica stood beside me, her breath ragged, a look of awe and terror on her face. What just happened? She whispered, eyes wide, searching mine for the answer that I didn't have one. I could only stare at the empty doorway, where shadows danced. In that moment, I knew our lives would never be the same. The laugh that had started it all echoed in my mind. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The warmth of the cafe had vanished, replaced by an unsettling chill that wrapped around us like a phantom's embrace. Jessica squeezed my arm, her grip tighter than usual, and I could feel the tremors of uncertainty coursing through her. The laughter we had shared mere moments ago felt like a distant memory, obscured by the heavy shadow of the cloaked figure. As we stood there amidst the debris of our vulnerability, I knew the question that loomed large between us. We needed to decipher the enigma of that man. I don't know, I finally admitted, breaking the stillness that threatened to suffocate us. But I feel like he is connected to us somehow. Jessica's brow furrowed as she pulled her hair back nervously. Connected? How? He just walked in like he owned the place. Her words held an edge that I hadn't anticipated, a crack in her brave facade that echoed my own spiraling fears. But it was more than that, Jess. Did you see how everyone reacted? It was like he cast a spell over the room. She nodded slowly, her eyes searching mine, both of us grasping at the thread of comprehension that eluded us. I could see the flicker of hope dwindling in her gaze, weighed down by the implications of what we'd encountered. Yet, in that moment, I also recognized the need to gather strength from one another. What if he was just a random guy? Jessica suggested, though her tone belied her own doubt. We shouldn't jump to conclusions. The optimism in her words felt fragile, as if saying them out loud could fracture the little resolve I had left. But what if it's more than just a coincidence? It was too calculated. My throat tightened, the memories of smiles and warmth feeling like grains slipping through my fingers that I could see the tension creeping back into her expression, her playful jesting replaced by the gravity of our reality. Then we need to find out. We can't just pretend this didn't happen. A flicker of warmth ignited within me. The determination in her voice shimmered like a beacon, urging me on. I knew Jessica was right, even if my courage wavered. We could not let fear dictate our lives. That we left the cafe, stepping out into the bustling sidewalk filled with laughter and chatter, oblivious to the weight that had anchored us. I felt the cool air against my skin, invigorating yet indifferent, and I took a deep breath, hoping to quell the chaos within. Let's south go to the park, I suggested, searching for a haven amidst the turmoil. We can talk there, somewhere less tight. Jessica nodded and quietly fell into step beside me. The walk felt familiar, a routine we had cherished for years. But today, it felt different, weighed down by unasked questions and the shadows of unknown futures. As we reached the park, we found a bench tucked away from the bustling paths. We sat down, surrounded by the colors of autumn, golden leaves cascading like confetti around us, yet the vivid landscape didn't quite penetrate the gravity in our hearts. Do you think he'll come back? Jessica whispered as she twirled a leaf between her fingers, her eyes trained on the ground. I pondered the question, considering the ripple effects of that fleeting encounter. I don't know, I admitted. But I can't shake the feeling that he wants something. Maybe he's looking for us. Her gaze flickered toward me, sharp and penetrating. What if he's dangerous? What if this is just the beginning? The thought sent a shiver through me. Then we do what we always do, we face it together. For a moment, there was comfort in that promise, a return to our foundation. But the moment was fleeting, quickly overtaken by a renewed sense of urgency. The shadows of our uncertainty lingered in the cool air, lurking just at the edges of our consciousness. As we sat in silence, something caught my eye, a figure looming at the corner of the park, almost concealed by the thicket of trees. My heart pounded wildly. The shape was familiar, it couldn't be him. I turned to Jessica, my voice a barely there whisper. Is that him? She followed my gaze, and a gasp escaped her lips. The man stood there, partially obscured but unmistakably watching us, his eyes glimmering with intent. My heart ceased its rhythmic beat, paralyzed by the threat of confrontation. In that moment, time suspended, and all I could feel was a rush of panic flooding my system. The simple laugh, the blissful connection, it all felt like a dream dissolving in the face of reality's cruel edge. Jessica's hand found mine, squeezing tightly, as if we could create an impenetrable barrier against the unknown. But as the figure stepped closer, a shocking realization hit me like a sudden storm. I recognized him. And with that recognition came the implosion of everything I thought I knew. The man's presence, the very shadow that had besieged our minds only moments ago, was now more than a troubling specter. He emerged from the veil of foliage, and the dawning recognition consumed me whole. My mouth went dry. This was no stranger, no apparition conjured by our fears. This was someone from my past, someone I had not thought about in years, yet the memory hit with the force of a gale. James. I uttered before I could rein in my shock. The name slipped out like an incantation I didn't remember casting, and Jessica's grip on my hand tightened, as if she could sense the tempest brewing inside me. The man tilted his head, a flicker of acknowledgement crossing his features, refined yet weathered by time and uncertainty. His eyes sparkled with a mix of recognition and something deeper, something akin to vulnerability. I knew that look, we used to share it. Emily, he greeted, his voice low and gravelly, tinged with emotion that caught me off guard. I didn't expect to see you here. My heart raced as I searched his face for answers, yet all I found was a labyrinth of memories intertwining with questions I never knew I had. Why was he here? Did he know about Jessica? More importantly, did he know about the shadow that loomed between us? Jessica's presence heightened the gravity of the situation. She shifted beside me, her eyes darting between James and me, sensing the emotional current thick in the air. You two know each other? She asked cautiously, trying to sift through the fog of confusion that enveloped us. Yeah. We were close once. A long time ago, I managed, my gaze tangling with James's as waves of nostalgia crashed against the walls I had built so carefully. But that was years ago. He took a step closer, dominating the space between us with the memories we had shared. I've wanted to reach out, he confessed, his voice choked with an emotion that felt foreign yet achingly familiar. When I saw you today, I knew I had to talk to you. There is something I need to tell you, Em. Something important. Jessica's hold on my hand tightened further, but it wasn't fear this time, it was a plea for clarity. What could be so important? She interjected, concern lacing her tone. James hesitated, guilt flickering across his face. I can't explain everything right now, but it has to do with the man we saw, the one in the cafe. He's connected to us, connected to our past, and I didn't want to involve you in this. My mind raced as I processed his words. The man who had walked into our lives like a dark harbinger of secrets was James, saying he had the answers I needed. I could sense Jessica's apprehension shadowing her supportive demeanor, a delicate balance she was trying to uphold as the uncomfortable truth settled between us. How do you know him? I asked, the urgency of my voice riding on the waves of confusion. James's eyes faltered for a moment before he spoke again. We used to run in the same circles. He was a part of something we wanted no part of. I thought I'd left that life behind. The revelations clawed at my insides, twisting the knife of uncertainty deeper into my heart. What does that mean? Are you suggesting he's dangerous? James met my gaze, his own eyes filled with somber conviction. Worse. He's there to reclaim what we lost, Em. And if he finds you and Jessica, I don't know what he will do. Jessica's breath hitched beside me, and I felt the warmth of her pulse radiating through our entwined fingers, grounding me even as my thoughts spiraled into chaos. We can't keep hiding. We deserve to know what's going on, she said, her voice emboldened, drawing strength from my turmoil, but that strength felt fragile against the weight of James's admission. My heart sank, layered with confusion, fear, and a flickering thread of hope that maybe, just maybe, he could guide us through this. Where do we start? I implored, trying to wrestle the pieces together, but James's face twisted with a sudden resolve I hadn't expected. We need to confront him. It's the only way to end this, he replied, the gravity of his words burying me beneath new doubts and the prospect of danger that lay ahead. Before I could respond, the sunlight dimmed as clouds drearily rolled over us, wrapping the park in an ominous embrace. I felt as though we stood on the brink of a precipice, teetering on the edge of revelation and chaos, and just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, another stranger, this one even more enigmatic. This time, the energy shifted palpably. An eerie calm settled over my heart, a gut-wrenching realization dawning anew. As the stranger approached, I could feel the weight of the past crashing against my present, and the truth whispered a chilling promise. This was far from over. James, the newcomer said, their voice echoing around us, laced with a threat I couldn't quite decipher but felt all too deeply. I see you've brought friends. Tell me, how many more lives are you willing to entangle in your mistakes? In that instant, I knew whatever fragmented world we thought we understood was intricately woven with a fabric darker than we could imagine. And the fight for answers had just begun. The air shifted, oppressive with the tension that crackled between the four of us. I instinctively stepped closer to Jessica, shielding her like a fragile flame against the cold gust of uncertainty that engulfed us upon the arrival of this new figure. Their presence seemed to pull the very light from our surroundings, twining shadows around the edges of my vision. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice trembling with defiance. For a moment, I almost felt brave, with the intensity of my emotions igniting a flicker of resolve. The stranger smirked, their eyes narrowing in a way that made me reconsider the notion of bravery altogether. "Names are trivial," they replied, each word dripping with a condescending edge. "What matters is the past we share, James. You've dragged them into a world they don't understand. A world you thought you left behind." James stiffened beside me, his resolve beginning to melt under the glare of the stranger's penetrating gaze. "I'm not afraid of you," he spat, his voice quaking, yet earnest in its defiance, peering at James. The stranger's smile widened, twisting into something menacing. "You should be. They're merely pawns in a game that you've already sacrificed so much for. You think you can protect them?" They gestured toward Jessica and me. "But that's where you're wrong." My heart raced as I snatched a glance at Jessica, whose face was laced with fear and confusion, yet she looked back at me with determination. That's when I remembered the warmth of her hand in mine, the lifeline we had forged amidst turmoil. "We have the right to be part of this, whatever it may be," she asserted, her voice a solid anchor in the storm brewing around us. The stranger's eyes flickered, intrigued by her defiance. "This isn't a game to be played lightly, girl," they warned, their voice a quiet, deadly whisper. It sent shivers down my spine. Every connection has its price, and not all debts can be paid in laughter. The edges of my world began to blur as disjointed thoughts raced through my mind. I felt as though I had stepped into a twisted fairy tale, ruled by forgotten promises and secret pacts that had lain dormant for years. "What do you mean?" I pleaded, desperation punctuating my question. "What debt? What are you talking about?" "Perhaps he hasn't told you everything," the stranger replied, turning to James, whose facade of bravado started to crack. "There were things you never wanted to remember. But when shadows come calling, they demand their dues." Fear gripped my insides, twisting like a vice. Every fiber of my being urged me to run, yet a deeper instinct compelled me to stay and fight for the truth, to forge my own path through the wreckage of our intertwined pasts. "James," I turned to him, urgency sharpening my tone. "What's the truth? What are they talking about?" He met my gaze, a storm of emotions swirling within him: regret, terror, and remnants of a connection we once cherished. "There are forces at play that I..." Before he could finish, the stranger interjected, their voice still hauntingly calm. "The truth is a double-edged sword, Emily. Stick around long enough, and you may very well feel the cut." James hesitated, his eyes flickering to the stranger as if a million silent conversations passed between them. "Stay out of this," he warned, but the stranger only laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the park, amplifying our trepidation. "Stay quiet if you want to protect them," they sneered, turning to me again. "But you'll soon realize that once the past emerges, there's no turning back. The longer you delay, the more catastrophic the fallout will be." And then, time seemed to stretch as the world around us darkened. My heart pounded like a drum, resonating with the oppressive weight of the moment. Had we unwittingly stepped into an inescapable web, one spun from time and choices long forgotten? "Every choice has consequences, Emily," the stranger concluded, their voice laced with a finality that set my teeth on edge. "And trust me, you'll face yours sooner than you think." As they stepped back into the shadows, I felt a chill run down my spine, the chill of realization that we had only scratched the surface of an ominous truth. The air felt taut, heavy with unspoken words and unseen dangers, while an unexpected bond of understanding flickered between James and me, a fragile thread tethering us amidst the storm. Jessica squeezed my hand tighter, grounding me, spurring me to muster the courage to confront the revelations we had yet to face. "What do we do now?" she urged, eyes wide with determination and a hint of fear. That I turned to James, desperate to glean how we could navigate this looming storm. But the time-worn ache in his eyes told me everything I needed to know. We stood on a precipice, a cliffhanger of potential destruction, and the next choice we made could plunge us into chaos. But just as I prepared to face the uncertainties ahead, a text vibrated in my pocket, a simple chime that felt out of place in the whirlwind of tension surrounding us, a distraction, yet perhaps a lifeline. I fished it out with trembling hands, my heart dropping as I read the words flashing back at me. "Meet me where it all began. You have no idea how deep this goes." The world around me spun, and I glanced at Jessica and James, emotions swirling in my gut. This journey had taken a darker turn, and as the implications sunk in, I knew one thing for certain: the deeper we dug into our past, the closer we drew to an unimaginable truth. And the answers awaited at a crossroads I couldn't yet fathom. As the last remnants of the chilling stranger's presence dissipated into the night, an unsettling silence enveloped us. The streets, once cacophonous with the sounds of distant laughter and life, felt muted, drained of vibrancy. The weight of the text lingered heavily in my palm: "Meet me where it all began." It wasn't just words, it felt like a summons, dragging us into a past I had only glimpsed through fractured memories. Clenching the device, I turned to face Jessica and James, their expressions a mixture of unease and curiosity reflected in my own wide eyes. "Where did it all begin?" Jessica whispered, her voice a tentative hush against the night air. Her longing to understand, edged with trepidation, mirrored my own spiraling thoughts. James glanced away, the flicker of hopelessness flashing across his features, an unspoken admission that the well of our shared history ran deeper than any of us had anticipated. "There's a place, a park, near my old neighborhood. It's where everything changed," he muttered, his words bereft of the bravado he'd once wielded like armor. The mention of the park sent tremors coursing through me. Memories both beautiful and haunting danced at the edges of my mind. It felt like a lifeline tied to a weighty anchor, pulling us back to our roots while commanding us to confront our fears. "Then we go there," I declared, my voice steadier than the quivering pulse inside my chest. "We have to face whatever waits for us." As we walked through the streets, a deep sense of purpose settled over me, even as doubt shivered in the fringes of my thoughts. Jessica walked beside me, her hand still tightly woven with mine, a silent promise of support. But as we took cautious steps toward the past, I could feel James trailing behind, as though he carried the very weight of his history on his back. Silence dominated the walk, each step forward echoing the fraught uncertainty we all felt. As shadows of the night engulfed us, I searched for moments of light to guide us. The vibrant memory of laughter replayed in my mind, a childhood day spent at that very park where innocence reigned. Suddenly, it was juxtaposed against the dark reality we found ourselves in now, at the crossroads of discovery and nightmare. When we finally reached the park, the air hung thick with nostalgia and danger. The playground stood silent, moonlight reflecting off the swings that now hung still. Once a haven of joy turned into an echo chamber of unacknowledged secrets. The world felt infinitely small in that moment, the sprawling trees casting long shadows like the doubts looming over us. "Do you feel that?" Jessica asked, her voice cutting through the silence as she took a step forward, peering into the heart of the park, her features illuminated by the soft glow of moonlight. There was an unspoken energy in the air, an undeniable pull that beckoned us closer. "It feels familiar," I replied, a clash of warmth and dread igniting in my chest. "But we know it won't be just memories waiting for us." James lingered at a distance, apprehension written all over him as he scanned the surroundings. "We shouldn't do this," he murmured, almost to himself, but the strength of his voice captured our attention nevertheless. "James, we can't turn back now," I insisted, my determination edging out the growing anxiety. "We need to understand what happened, what the past means for us now." Caught in the web of our unfolding tension, I could see his facade crumbling, the walls he built around himself creaking like ancient wood under pressure. Suddenly, I noticed a flicker in his eyes, as if beneath the surface nostalgia, some long-buried pain throbbed alive, threatening to burst forth, and just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, slipping out of the darkness like a whisper wrapped in mystery. My heart raced as recognition washed over me, a face I had never thought I would see again. "Do you really think you could avoid this forever?" The newcomer intoned, voice low and edged with a strange familiarity. It was a woman with a striking presence, framed by the silver light of the moon, her eyes glinting with knowledge contained in shared histories. James staggered back as if physically struck, a cocktail of terror and disbelief flooding his features. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered, a helpless murmur that crackled in the silence. "Yet here I am," she replied coolly, a smirk playing on her lips. "Looks like the game has only just begun." The air around us thickened, the past pressing down with an unbearable fervor as her words created fractures in our reality. I glanced at Jessica, who met my gaze wide-eyed, the gravity of our encounter wrapping around us like a tightening coil, and in that moment, I realized we were no longer mere players in this unfolding saga, we were woven into the tapestry of fate itself, and every thread tugged closer. How far back did this go? What choices had led us here? With the darkness closing in around us like the treacherous shadow of the fate we couldn't escape, I felt a shiver run down my spine. Nothing would ever be the same again, not after tonight. As if answering my unspoken fear, the woman stepped closer, breaking the silence that had enveloped us like a thick fog. "You've always feared the reckoning, James. Looks like it's time to face it together." And just as her words sank in, a sudden sound shattered the stillness, a sharp crack, echoing like a gunshot, reverberating through the park as if time itself held its breath. I turned to see James visibly shaken, eyes wide with a dawning realization, the gravity of his past crashing down around him like a tidal wave. In that moment, everything changed again, the world around us morphing into a darker, more treacherous landscape as the chilling echo became the catalyst for our inevitable confrontation. Whatever secrets lay buried here would soon rise, and the stakes would be greater than any of us had ever anticipated. The air thickened with tension as the echoes of the sudden crack lingered, merging with the ambient rustle of leaves stirring in the night breeze. Soon, it felt as if time stood still, as if the universe was begging for the truth to be revealed. We stood in a precarious triangle of uncertainty, the woman's enigmatic gaze, Jessica, stricken with confusion, and James, whose haunted expression hinted at a storm brewing inside him. "What do you want?" James finally gasped, his voice severed by the fear that wrapped around him. This was no longer the quiet park where we had hoped to unravel old memories, it had transformed into a battleground of secrets. "That's not what you should be asking," she replied, a sly smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Instead, you should be considering what you're willing to sacrifice to uncover the truth." My heart sank at her words. The implications of sacrifice weighed heavy, gripping my chest like a vice. I had never imagined we would be faced with the stark reality of choices and the costs associated with our search for understanding. Jessica squeezed my hand tighter, vulnerability radiating from her gaze. "We want to understand, but we're not willing to hurt each other," she stated firm, though tremors in her voice betrayed the wavering edge of her resolve. "Ah, but the past rarely grants such considerate desires," the woman mused, her tone saturated with amusement, as if she were delighting in our naive hopes. "The past is a ravenous beast, hungry for bloodshed and despair. Are you sure you aren't clinging to old ghosts instead of facing what lies ahead?" I shook my head, shards of fear glimmering in my vision. "We're not afraid. We came here to confront the past, not to be swayed by its darkness." "But you are afraid," she said softly, allowing the words to hang between us like smoke. "You all carry the weight of the choices that shaped your lives, the regrets, the wounds, the lost dreams. James here knows better than anyone what it means to be shackled by history." James flinched at the accuracy of her words, something shifting behind his dark eyes, a cascade of memories pouring forth without invitation. I ached to reach out to him, to reassure him that we were in this together, but as I glanced at his face, I feared he might shatter under the weight of the truth she had so deftly exposed. "Why did you come back?" he murmured, as if he were unraveling the strands of a puzzle that had long eluded him. "Because it's time," she answered, a heavy finality in her tone. Time for you to choose your past or your future. The impact of her words rattled the air. The future was an elusive concept haunting me just as much as the ghosts of our shared past. Was it possible to carve out a future knowing the shadows of yesterday lingered so closely? Make no mistake, she continued, watching as the shadows tightened around her, this will not be easy. You will find moments of connection and clarity intertwined with sorrow and sacrifice. It's the nature of the game. My breath caught as I thought of our once carefree laughter echoing through the park, juxtaposed against the anguish bubbling like molten rock just beneath the surface. I wanted to scream that we were more than past mistakes, more than frayed connections that had once held us together. Let us stop playing games, I urged, stepping closer with purpose. Give us the truth, or let us go. With such bravado, how can I refuse? Her smirk faded, replaced by a hint of solemnity. Very well. But know this, the truth is not as simple as you think it is. In that moment, a warmth brushed against my skin, a soft whisper that felt like the touch of kindness in the chaotic darkness. Glancing around, I saw a group of fireflies flickering through the trees, illuminating the shadows, a reminder of hope even in the bleakest of landscapes. Could we find light amidst the encroaching darkness? As I took a cautious breath, a realization struck me, the importance of acknowledging our shared fears without letting them dictate our choices. Maybe the connection we once had could be reignited. Illuminated like the delicate glow of the fireflies that held their dance through the uncertainty, before I could voice my thoughts, James spoke, his voice raw and filled with uncertainty. What are you hiding from us? What happened between you and me? Between us all? The question hung in the air, dense with the weight of unprocessed emotion. The woman's expression turned serious, as if she, too, felt the heaviness of that inquiry crackling between us. It is you who must reveal what was lost first, she stated, a steel unyielding in her voice. Only then can I offer clarity, and understanding may blossom from these barren roots. As James blinked slowly, struggling with potential disclosures, I felt a surge of protectiveness wash over me. We needed him to connect the fragments of his story to ours, but was he ready to unveil that part? The truth seemed to drape a heavy cloak around him, threatening to consume us all. Just then, the distant sound of sirens began to pierce the serene night, an ominous hum that grew stronger as it approached. My heart raced once again, the air tensing with newfound urgency as I turned to face Jessica. It was now or never. I won't let fear hold us back, I said, meeting her gaze, determination flaring inside me. Whatever happens next, we will face it together. But as I glanced over to James, the look etched on his features left me breathless, a kaleidoscope of regret, desolation, and, perhaps for the first time, a flicker of resolve. Time to step into the darkness, he said, and we followed together, the fireflies illuminating our path, a single flicker of hope spiraling with every step. But the weight of the unknown bore down heavily, leaving ominous questions hanging in the air. As we moved deeper into the park, the sirens wailed closer, wrapping us in a cocoon of impending urgency and the sense that the past would soon be demanding what it was owed. Would the truth we searched for liberate us, or would it chain us further to the shadows? And just as I thought we might grasp the heart of it, a voice called out from behind me, a voice familiar enough to send chills coursing through my veins. Why did you come back? I turned slowly, dread gripping my heart. There, emerging from the darkness like an ancient specter, was someone I thought I would never see again. A part of my past that loomed larger than any present fear. Because you never truly let me go. The weight of my past had come crashing in, each piece knocking against the fragile edifice of newfound hope we barely clung to. And in that moment, I understood, we were spiraling toward a revelation that could shatter the world we knew and unveil the connections we desperately sought. The air crackled with tension, a raw electricity pulsing through the space as I stood frozen, grappling with the face that had haunted my dreams, an embodiment of lost moments and heartache. Sarah, with her bright laugh and tender heart, stood there, surrounded by shadows that seemed to clamber at her heels. Why are you here? My voice trembled, a whisper caught in the storm of emotions that threatened to engulf me. Her eyes, wide and stormy, reflected the confusion that swirled within me. You left without saying goodbye, she replied, each word a velvet hammer against my chest. I needed closure. I came to find out what happened. James's expression shifted, the flash of recognition dawning as he took a step back, the revelation rippling across his features. You, he stuttered, the air suddenly heavy with unasked questions and old scars. Why does everyone keep asking why I came back? Sarah's voice quaked slightly, the frustration seeping through. You all act like the past is a ghost you can just ignore, but it's not. It's here, it's alive, and it won't let go. Jessica's grip tightened on my hand, her confusion palpable as she shifted between us. So, what are you saying, Sarah? That we have to face our pasts now? Do you think the truth is ours to ignore, to pick at when it's convenient? She asked, her voice rising with an urgency that matched the growing sirens in the distance. It's a part of who we are, and it will keep haunting you until you confront it. I felt a part of my heart unclench as her words dripped truth, yet the weight of our unspoken histories threatened to suffocate our flickering light. What did this mean for the fragile hope we had clung to? James swallowed hard, his gaze flickering between Sarah and the ground, searching for footing in a world where he had feared facing the truth for so long. Sarah, you shouldn't have come here, he finally said, each word heavy with despair. I should have come here. She interrupted, the fire in her eyes flickering with undeniable clarity. You can't erase what we shared. The laughter, the dreams. They didn't just vanish because you ran away. They're still here. James staggered backward, a raw vulnerability surfacing in his expression, and I could see the struggle etched on his face. But nothing. We all left pieces of ourselves behind. Don't you get it? Her voice, now a calling crescendo, reverberated in the depths of my soul. Hiding from the past does not make it disappear. The air grew thick, and I felt an overwhelming sense of unity among us, a shared history binding our hearts even as regret festered in the corners of our lives. Hope flickered, albeit hesitantly, as time hung motionless for just a moment, but the sirens continued their approach, a symphony of impending chaos that broke the tension that had held us in place, wrapped us in a cocoon of nostalgia and fear. Then Sarah took a step closer, the fireflies spiraling around us bringing a warmth that felt almost tangible. All of us, we have to own our pieces, claim our stories, or we'll remain shackled by the very ghosts we fear. Her gaze fell upon James, and I sensed that behind her longing resentment, there was an unspoken wound she dared to voice. What do you want from me? James's question trembled, the walls he built around his past threatening to crumble. Just one moment of honesty, she pleaded, her voice softening as if reaching deeper. Tell me what you really remember. About us. The confession hung in the air, a breath away from being born, and I felt the urgency build within me. Our shared moment was a thin filament stretching between energy and despair, hope and uncertainty. But then, an awful realization pierced through the gathering shadows. What if confronting the past only leads to greater pain? I whispered, fear seeping into my heart. The weight of what lay just beyond our fragile reunion felt like it could crush us entirely. Then we hold on to each other, Jessica interjected, her voice unwavering amidst the turmoil. Together, we can face whatever comes next. Beside her, James shifted as if he were catching a gust of wind, suddenly alive yet apprehensive. You're right, he said. His voice was steady, as if finally imbued with a will of its own. I can't hide anymore. I'll share the truth before it consumes us. But before he could gather the words, a violent crash reverberated through the night, sending a cascade of startled birds spiraling into the sky. My heart raced at the implications of the sound, demanding our attention just as the night begged us to confront the light and dark within. The darkness thickened, a specter of foreboding wrapping itself around us. Get down! Sarah's scream cut through the chaos, and instincts surged as we dove to the ground. The moment hung suspended as I stole a glance at the edge of the woods, where shadow figures lingered, unseen threats that suddenly shattered the fragile moment we had begun to create. Where did they come from? Jessica gasped, her voice trembling with fear as the previously serene park transformed into an arena filled with lurking danger. In the wake of sirens and chaos, one thought surged through me: the past had returned, not just to remind us of what we had lost, but to take us deeper into a truth none of us were prepared to embrace. The air around us was thick with fear and confusion as we crouched low, our hearts racing to a rhythm dictated by the unseen enemies lurking just beyond the tree line, the soft rustle of leaves echoing our mounting dread. My eyes darted to Sarah, her expression a mix of defiance and terror, her lips pressed together as if forming silent prayers for a safe escape. Jessica was breathing heavily beside me, her hand squeezing mine so tightly it felt as if she could sense the very essence of my anxiety. "Stay calm," James whispered, pulling us closer to him, his voice steadier than I felt. "This might just be a misunderstanding." He scanned the area as shadows twisted and blurred with the night. "Misunderstanding?" Sarah's voice dripped with incredulity. "You think someone crashes into a quiet park without a reason? We need to get out of here." The urgency in her tone was unmistakable, and I felt a surge of clarity. She was right, there was no time to linger in the uncertainty of our pasts. Before I could respond, another crash split the air, louder this time, and the shadows flared to life, revealing figures emerging into the dull glow of the park lights. My breath hitched as I recognized their faces, grim and filled with purpose. They were from our pasts, a living testament to decisions we thought we could leave behind. "Why are they here?" I whispered, panic clawing at the edges of my mind, a chill seeping into my bones. Among them, a fiery presence caught my eye. Mike, a friend turned hostile, wielding the echoes of grievances we had incited years ago. Turning to James, I searched for answers in his eyes, wondering if he felt the same dread settling into his gut. But he remained focused, tension coiling tighter around him. "We need a plan. There's no going back now. They're here to finish what they started." His words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Just then, one of the figures stepped forward, the familiar glint of recognition sparking against the shadows. It was Sam, a former confidant, once our comfort, now a cold reminder of the fractures we had tried to erase. "You think you can just forget us? That we wouldn't come for what's rightfully ours?" His voice drowned out the symphony of anxiety as he waved a hand dismissively at our gathering. That I felt a swell of old anger rise within me, a fire long dormant igniting once more. "What do you want from us?" I challenged, my voice shaky but defiant as I stepped forward, emboldened by the risk of confrontation. Sarah grabbed my arm, pulling me back as she whispered urgently, "Don't provoke them." But the reality of our situation loomed large, there was no escaping it now. "We can't run anymore," I said, the raw truth spilling from my lips as I locked eyes with James, then Sarah. "We're all in this together. We need to confront them. This is our chance to face the monsters we can't outrun." The tension in the air felt like a thick tapestry, weaving our collective fear into something more potent, an acknowledgement of the pain we all carried, of unresolved issues pulsing just beneath our skins. I glanced at Jessica, who nodded solemnly, her courage stitched a thread of hope through our shared despair. "Here's the truth." James' voice sliced through the noise, stronger than I had ever heard it. "You want us to confront our past? Fine. Let us do it together. We've made mistakes, and we're willing to own them." His fierce gaze swept over the gathering shadows, igniting a flicker of hesitation among our tormentors. A moment of silence followed, as if time held its breath. Sam hesitated, an unsettling mix of confusion and uncertainty dancing across his face. But just as quickly, anger returned, scorching his expression. "You think this ends well for you?" It won. Suddenly, behind them, a figure broke from the group. I squinted into the dark, squinting to see. It was Clara, another name tangled in our narratives, her presence both a threat and a lifeline. But instead of aggression, she wore a look of desperation. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. "We have to talk. This isn't the way." "What do you mean?" Sam barked back, confusion molding to rage. Clara shook her head, stepping forward, visibly trembling. This isn't just about the past anymore. It's about survival, yours and ours. This fight won't erase the wrongs, it will only bury us deeper in fear. I don't trust you. Sam spat, anger lacing his words. Then trust the truth. Clara implored, her eyes desperate and bright. You came here for a reason. We can't remain prisoners of our past. Violence won't solve anything. In the quiet that followed, my heart pounded in unison with the threat of chaos looming over us. Sarah stepped forward, emboldened by Clara's courage. There's so much pain between us. Let us channel it differently. We can't keep hurting each other. Every eye turned toward her, electricity dancing in the air, the faintest hope shimmering amid the shadows. Yet beneath this fragile flicker, a darkness still loomed, perhaps the recognition that reconciliation might not be an option for all of us. The sound of sirens grew closer, their wailing harmonizing eerily with the palpable tension between our past and present. As each moment stretched thin, I knew this was not merely a confrontation, it was a reckoning that demanded something extraordinary from all of us. But just as an agreement seemed possible, the shift in Sam's eyes told me everything. An unexpected volatility cracked through the cautious air. Enough of this! He shouted, swinging a fist through the crowd, his movement breaking the tenuous harmony. Chaos erupted as we scattered, knowing that the past may finally shatter everything we had tried to rebuild, and at that moment, I understood that peace would not come without a cost. Hidden truths that could either heal or destroy loomed above us all as shadows darkened our escape. As we stumbled backward into the chaos, my heart ached with a single realization: we were not just fighting the ghosts of our past, we might be sealing our own fates, lost in a whirlwind of emotion we hadn't anticipated, tethered forever by the fractures of time. The echoes of chaos writhed around us, the night air thick with gasps and shouts as we scattered like leaves caught in a storm. My heart raced, pounding against my ribcage as if it too sought to flee the impending tumult. In the midst of this madness, I honed in on Sarah, her presence a lifebuoy amid the tempest. With her at my side, the fear felt less suffocating, just for a moment. Where do we go? She yelled over the cacophony, adrenaline fueling her every word. Anywhere but here. I urged, my thoughts racing. We need to get to the other side of the park. The distant glow of streetlights seemed to promise sanctuary, a glimmer of hope cutting through the grim reality we faced. But the shadows were closing in, and I could feel their looming danger etched against my skin. As we dashed across the grassy expanse, I heard Jessica's breathless words from behind me. Wait, Clara. She froze, glancing back as her gaze caught on the remnants of our former friendships colliding in chaos. A chill went down my spine. Let her go. I called back, but as I turned, I saw Clara pinned by Sam, the tension in his arm a silent threat. Clara! I shouted again, my fear morphing into desperation. Leave her. Sarah's voice cut through the din, resolute and fierce as she pushed forward, determined to protect the one who had shown more bravery than any of us tonight. But Sam merely tightened his grip, anger twisting his features into something more monstrous than familiar. Why should I? He growled, his voice low and gravelly. She's the one who wants to forget all we've endured. She's the reason we're even in this mess. No. Clara's voice rang out, desperate and piercing like a dagger in the heavy air. I don't want to forget, I want to understand. We don't have to fight. Her words hung between us like a bridge caught in a sudden storm. In this moment, something shifted. The frantic energy crackled in the air, but as I watched Sam's face waver, I realized the fight wasn't solely within him, it was a battle for all of us, poised delicately on the precipice of destruction or connection. Sam, think about it. I shouted, my voice cracking under the weight of imploring. We can't go on like this. Do you really want the worst for us? Each word trembled with fear, but also with a lingering hope that perhaps, just perhaps, we could reclaim what had been lost. He faltered, confusion marred by anger swirling in his eyes. What do you know about losing? He spat, the bitterness of old wounds breaking free, puncturing the cloud of tension. You left us behind. You think you can come back, act like you care. Clara stepped forward, eyes brimming with tears that glistened in the faint light. We all carry our scars. But that doesn't mean we can't start healing, together. The vulnerability in her words was stunning, shattering the hardened exteriors we had all constructed. Before anything else could solidify in our fractured reckoning, laughter split the air, a sudden burst so unexpected, it reverberated through the tension like a strange new rhythm. It echoed through the night, turning heads in surprise as if somehow the universe knew that laughter could serve to bridge gaps far deeper than anger ever could. It was Jessica, who stood awash in bewilderment, clutching her sides as if the absurdity of our situation had finally cracked her open. This can't be real. She laughed, and for a heartbeat, the laughter mingled with the chaos, a shared moment of disbelief that turned resentment into bewilderment. Laughing now, Jess? I think we're being threatened. I yelled back, incredulous yet strangely buoyed by the lightness her laughter ignited. I know. But isn't it ridiculous? She shouted, urgency lacing her voice as her laughter rang out, infecting even me despite the dire circumstance. And then, surprisingly, smiles began to chase away frowns like a sun breaking free from a shroud of clouds. Laughter won't save us. Sam barked, though his conviction faltered as he too felt the shift. Maybe not, but it can slow everything down, Sarah answered quickly, a soft smile breaking her fierce demeanor, as if she discovered a new comfort within this moment. Just then, in the midst of this unexpected reprieve, a loud crash erupted from the bushes behind us. The sound swept like a gale through the park, turning laughter to gasps as we spun toward the source. From the shadows, another group emerged, faces masked and intentions unclear. Our momentary connection was severed, a flicker of hope extinguished as fresh specters of conflict crept forward to replace the short-lived laughter. Run! James shouted, breaking our collective stupor, the urgency in his tone igniting our feet into action once more. As we retreated into the darkness, I felt a new weight settle over me. Every laugh, every shared heartbeat had transformed something inside me, a bittersweet reminder that connection often evokes both warmth and fear, a testament to the fragility of our shared existence. But as we fled into the unknown, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just an escape. It was a new beginning marred by shadows we couldn't outrun, ones that would soon catch up with us in ways we never expected. Fleeting moments of connection clung to my heart as I dashed away, but I couldn't shake the new, looming dread. What if this was only a prelude to something darker that was yet to come? The chaos enveloped us like a thick fog, every heartbeat echoing as we fled through the park, shadows intertwining with our memories of laughter and fear. Adrenaline surged, propelling us forward into the unknown, yet beneath the pounding rhythm of our flight, I felt an unyielding pull of gravity that latched onto my heart and wouldn't let go. Keep moving! James yelled, his voice a beacon through the tempest, and instinctively, we all pressed on. Jessica remained steadfast at my side, her grip an anchor against the overwhelming tides of uncertainty. Even in the haze of panic, the bond between us surged with renewed strength, a tether that pulled us closer as we navigated this chaotic labyrinth. But as we ventured deeper into the heart of the park, I could feel something shifting in the air, a palpable tension that thrummed beneath the surface, whispering of pending confrontation. The shadows we thought we could outpace began to close in, an ever-tightening noose of past regrets and unresolved pain. We need a place to regroup. Sarah shouted, her breath ragged as we stumbled into a clearing, a brief respite from the whirling darkness. With a sense of shared urgency, we turned to face one another, circling like moths drawn to a flame, caught between fear and the shimmering ember of hope that still flickered within us. Sarah, you need to tell us what you know, I urged, locking eyes with her. She swallowed hard, hesitating as if the words themselves were reluctant to break free. The tension isn't just ours. It's a cycle, a loop of pain that started with us. We can end it if we face it together. Together, Jessica echoed, a spark of defiance igniting in her eyes. But how do we do that when the shadows are still pushing back? The reality of our situation weighed heavily upon us. We could feel the encroaching danger, the certainty that we would soon face the very specters of our past. Clara stepped forward, determination etched in her brow. What if it's not about righting wrongs? What if we figure out how to apologize, how to forgive, instead? Her words hung in the air like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters, and I marveled at the bravery woven within her vulnerability. If accepting our past could ease the weight we carried, perhaps we could find a way to weave the torn threads of our stories back together, but as soon as I felt a glimmer of relief, that old familiar tension surfaced, a chill creeping down my spine, prickling at the edges of the hopeful ambience we had begun to forge. Shadows lurked just beyond the trees. I could hear the distant sound of footsteps approaching, the whisper of danger pooling behind us like a thick fog. There's no time. Sam's voice broke through the metaphorical veil between us, and a flicker of fear danced across his features as he scanned the perimeter. We have to act now before they find us. What do we do? I felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down like an anchor sinking into dark waters. Would turning to the past only plunge us deeper into despair, or could we anchor ourselves to the strength forged between us? Face them, James said, stepping forward, an unexpected fire ignited in his belly. We can't keep running. We all chose to come here for a reason, and we have to own that. I could sense the tides shifting, a current of possibility coursing through us. But what if facing them means losing everything? I challenged, my heart constricting with the fear of accepting the hidden truths of our tangled lives. James turned to me, a spark of determination flashing in his eyes. Maybe losing what was never ours to hold, the pain, the betrayal, the fear, is the only way to find what we need. The truth might shatter us, but it also has the power to set us free. Jessica stepped closer, her voice firm yet gentle. We'll face it together. No one is alone in this anymore. Just as the collective strength of our convictions intertwined, a rustle in the underbrush broke the tenuous hold of our resolve. My heart raced as figures began to emerge, more than shadows now, their faces twisted in a mix of anger and confusion, a storm of unresolved emotions hovering just beneath the surface that I could make out familiar features among the unexpected arrivals, old friends, former companions once joined by laughter that now morphed into haunting echoes of our pasts. Silently, they stepped into the clearing, a confrontation looming like thunder clouds on the horizon. Why are you here? I demanded, the urgency in my voice matching the tempest swirling inside me. Because we can't walk away anymore. One of them stepped forward, a fierce glint in her eyes. You left us with unanswered questions. We just want revenge. Sam interjected, his voice tinged with bitterness. Clarity, she shot back, we want clarity because the truth of what we lost must be shared, not silenced. Time slowed as unspoken frustrations collided, each word like a pulsating current of pent-up frustration from all sides. I felt the weight of unresolved pain press against my chest, the burden of our silences crashing against the charged atmosphere. Then let us share it, James roared, his voice a tempest of strength and vulnerability. Tell us what you've been holding on to, and we can finally break this cycle. A palpable hush hung in the air, each heated breath a testament to the depth of emotions unexpressed, yet yearning to break free. I glanced around at the faces of those once dear to me as they began to nod. Perhaps this was it, the moment where connection forged through forgiveness could light the way out of the encroaching darkness. The clearing became a battleground of stories as each voice emerged, weaving a tapestry of understanding born from pain. We spoke of choices made, of laughter turned to sorrow, and of dreams abandoned too soon. And as our confessions mingled in the air like strands of gold shimmering in the moonlight, I realized our stories were not just entangled out of misfortune, they were woven with love, resilience, and the undeniable will to heal. With every sentient truth shared, hope unfurled like petals of a flower reaching toward the sun. The shadows began to recede, not because they had been vanquished, but because they had been acknowledged, a passage toward liberation, a passport back to each other. Maybe the darkness doesn't just live in our pasts, I mused aloud, the words tumbling out like a newly discovered secret. What if the light lives in our ability to forgive ourselves and each other? Something shifted amid our gathering, the understanding spreading beyond mere survival to an acceptance of connection found in shared vulnerability. An electric warmth enveloped us, a welcome breeze brushing against the stifling fear, coaxing us to forge ahead into uncharted territories. As the last person shared their truth, the tension melted into cautious hope tinged with uncertainty, a newfound energy fragrant with promise. And in that moment, just as I thought I could breathe again, I felt a familiar warmth unfurl inside me, igniting my very soul. Together, we can create something stronger than our pasts, I declared, the weight of conviction thrumming through me like a heartbeat. We will not let our histories define us. We will break the chains. And as the sirens wailed in the distance, a melody beneath the chaos, I understood one glorious truth: we stood at the precipice of rebirth. The last lingering shadows faded as clarity emerged, illuminating the path ahead. Stepping forward, my heart surged with an unwavering resolve. Let us create our own story, one that begins now. The laughter of the past faded, not in erasure but as a resonating anthem of lives intertwined, leading us toward the climax of our extraordinary journey. And in that moment, I knew, though the path to healing would not be easy, it was paved with courage, conviction, and the unbreakable bonds formed in the fire of our shared vulnerability. And as we took that first step forward, hand in hand, the crisp night air whispered a simple truth: sometimes, happiness is not just found in laughter, but in the courage to confront our pain.